Hey guys, welcome to the Quiet Moments Homestead. My name is Brenda Kay and I am so glad that you're here. This is my first year attempting to homestead. I am an urban homestead, so I'm in the heart of the Phoenix area. Well, I'm in a suburb of Phoenix, but Phoenix Metro. So I live in the middle of the desert, zone 9B, but it is extremely hot and dry. Part of the good thing is I get to grow year round, but yeah, so this is my little garden that I started during quarantine, so I thought I would take you guys around. You already saw a little bit what's growing in my front yard, but I'll show you the garden proper and a couple other things that are going on in the backyard. Okay, so this is my garden currently. I am using the square foot gardening method, so I have a total of 8 beds, 4 foot, well they will be 4 foot square beds. I kind of just threw this in during quarantine and I'm going back and reconfiguring things. So I did everything in ground to start with, and then I'm going back and I am putting in raised beds as things are needing to be replanted, just so I can control the soil a little bit better, because I do have the soil here is like this. It's very hard and dry and compacted, so it needs a lot of amendment. So I figured if I did slightly raised beds, that would be a good way to control the type of soil. So I have, this one is a 4 foot by 2 foot bed approximately. I am using these existing bricks that were already on my property. My parents have owned this house for nearly 30 years, so, and I currently rent it. So these have been on the property for as long as I can remember. But yeah, so this is my sweet potato bed. I do have sage and a marigold and a celosia, which is not doing too well. They did not hold up very well. My marigolds are doing fabulous. They're supposed to be dying off, but they're doing amazing, and some of them. That one's not doing so well, but my sage is doing good. So yeah, I have sweet potatoes in here, and I do have this trellis. It will be a trellis when it's needed, just out of PVC pipe. And it will look something kind of like that when it's done. This is the one I just put in. It actually went in the night before last. I had some things planted here. I had cucumbers, some lemon cucumbers and some burgundy bush beans and radishes, a couple other things planted here, and a bird came and ate them all. So I figured since it was empty bed anyway, I might as well just start over. So I did put this in the other night, and I had 3 bags of soil left, so it's in there. The white things you were seeing all over, we planted, right this afternoon I planted garlic all around the bed. I've read that garlic can deter birds, so I may not get any garlic bulbs proper, but if I can keep the birds out of the bed, that would be great. This is a dandelion I got in the mail from Houseplant Shop. They have a subscription box, and I have the herb box, and I got a dandelion in the mail today, so stuck that in the ground. I'm very excited. I love dandelions. But this is a trellis, so in the back I have lemon cucumber. Like I said, garlic on the 3 sides. I put garlic on the 3 sides of that bed too. Not really interested in bulbs. If they bulb, great. If not, this whole thing is, learning and experiment. And then my dandelion. And then over here, got some insect damage, but my cucumbers are doing well. So these are Sumpter cucumbers. The vines are threatening to pull over the trellis. It's like a fence panel that I stuck in, but we've already harvested I think 4 cucumbers so far, and I've got a few more in here coming on. And then I have some okra back there that's getting ready to bloom. I've never grown okra before, but it is looking fabulous. Some baby stragglers, but those are doing good. And that is a thyme plant that I'm hoping survives the summer. One of my favorite herbs to cook with. I do have a shade cover over most of the garden, just because the sun is so intense. We are hitting 110 degrees regularly right now, so, or 108, you know, in that range. So it is, and the sun is very intense. The garden gets, I'll show you. So behind me here, that's my chicken coop. I have an irrigation ditch, and I don't take irrigation, but it's in the neighborhood. And that is a giant pecan tree. So I do get pecans every year. They drop into the yard and I gather them, but that provides a lot of afternoon shade. So usually about the time that we hit high temp, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this is already partly shaded. But this end of the garden does not get much shade because it gets the morning sun. My house is east-west, so it gets the morning sun, and by the time this shade comes completely over, everything will be fried if I didn't cover it. So I have a shade cover over a good portion. Okay, moving on. All my cucumbers. I love all the yellow blossoms. They make me so happy. And look, a baby cucumber. I have a couple San Marzano tomato plants. I started these from seed. I haven't gotten any tomatoes on them yet. I kind of started late. Like I said, I started in April when I was on, we went into shut down, shelter at home, or stay at home orders for Arizona. So that's when I put all this stuff in. So things are, you know, I'm a little late on the tomatoes. I'm hoping they survive the summer. These are green beans, your standard Blue Lake bush beans, but I probably will not get any beans on these because it is so hot. They're kind of flowering, but right now it's just a bunch of pretty foliage, so I'm just going to leave them. I did plant some vincas or periwinkles throughout. Try not to cover anything that's, you know, for sound. There we go. Okay, so there's another San Marzano paste tomato. This plant volunteered itself, and from what I can tell researching it, it is a black nightshade. So these little things should turn into either black or red berries depending on what kind of nightshade it is. Supposedly you can eat the berries, but for now I'm just leaving it because it is attracting some of like caterpillars. There's a bunch of caterpillar poop. So I'm just going to leave it, and maybe it'll keep things away from the rest of my garden. There is a patch of marigolds that is just beautiful. There's 4 in there, and they just taken off. I need to cut some and take them inside because they've got nice long stems. That is some arugula that I probably need to pull because it's gone to flower. Might see if I can gather some seeds off of it. These are, I believe these are lima beans. Check. Yes, these are lima beans. I love lima beans, and this right now that's pretty much what I can continue to grow is like lima beans and cucumbers, squash, melons through the summer heat. So these are doing fantastic. Lima beans seem to like the heat. This is another patch of Blue Lake bush beans. And as you can see, I've got like flower buds, but no flowers, and they're kind of starting to dry out and die off. So that's where my chickens can reach through the fence. Give them a little snack, I guess. So I'll probably end up pulling these up soon. But for now, I'm just going to leave them. This is the one celosia that is doing well, and I think it's just because it's shaded by the bush beans, so it seems to be happy. There is my vinca that is doing phenomenal. And these, I am so stinking excited for these. You have no idea. These are honey nut squash. I love the program Chef's Table, and they did a special on Dan Barber from Blue Hill. Oh man, I can't remember now. And these were developed for his restaurant. So they are like a butternut squash, but they're smaller and they're supposed to be more intense flavor. and I am so excited. These are the first ones that I planted. So I planted 5 originally. 4 of them came up, and I just put 5 more seeds here. The pack only came with 10 seeds, so I'm hoping to get a good first harvest for these. They're already starting to set buds, so I'm hoping for these. This one down here did not. It's not gotten very big, and I don't know why. I planted sunflowers all along this edge of the garden. Here is my corn patch. This is going to be a three sisters patch. So I have corn. I have, this is popping corn, so I'm going to let it grow all season, whatever grows. Some of them, like this one here, are doing really well. And let them grow and set and dry for popcorn. And it is Dakota Black popcorn. I thought that would be fun. And then I have lima beans. I started doing succession planting of lima beans, and then I was like, yeah, just plant them all. So there are lima beans between each row. They are a bush lima, so they won't vine up the squash, but that's okay. More sunflowers. On this is probably going to go delicata squash. Maybe a couple delicata and a couple, what are they called? I got pink banana squash. Those may go here. They may go in another bed. I haven't decided yet. But I'm going to do one squash up that. And then I'm also going to, I have sugar pie pumpkins that I'm going to plant along here and let them vine in. So this is my three sisters bed. And then over here, these are, I have, the next 2 beds are pretty much planted the same as far as the main plants go. So yeah, I'm not even sure what varieties of watermelon I have or these bigger tomato plants. A local producer was giving away Victory Garden starter sets in April, like the beginning of April. So I went and picked one up. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I picked up a starter set from that local producer, that local farm, and they are well known for their tomatoes. So I got a bunch of tomato plants, like a ton of tomato plants. And the watermelon, it was enough for my garden. I planted tomatoes in 3 beds, watermelon in 2 beds. So I have 8 watermelon plants. I have probably 15 or 18 tomatoes from them. And I gave away a bunch to, I gave some to my sister, I gave some to my mom, and I had a friend who's local who is a single mom who was out of work, and she was asking about like starting a container garden for her patio. She lives in an apartment, and so I gave a bunch to her with some pots and some soil and stuff. So yeah, the watermelon are doing pretty good. I have had some aphids on them, but I just spray them off right now. If it gets too bad, I might explore using like essential oils or something on them, because I also have ants, and I realize the ants are farming the aphids, which is not a good thing. So okay, so these are what is surviving of my radishes. I do have a yellow straight neck squash there, and my thought is the tomatoes, by the time the tomatoes are ready to come out, because I don't know if I'm getting a lot of blossom end rot. Like that one right there was looking good, and now it's starting to look a little rotted at the bottom. So I may just have to pull these and start over. We're getting to the time where I can start my fall planting of tomatoes. But yeah, so those are my radishes that survived. Those are more lima beans. I ended up with only 2 full patches of lima beans because there weren't many seeds in that packet. They were conventional, which is fine. I didn't want a whole garden of conventional anyway. I do have one white box radish there. This had plants coming up all the way through it, and that same little bird probably came in and pulled everything. So my turnips are gone. I have replanted this white scallop squash twice. It is gone again. But yeah, my one little radish surviving. And my kale, I had kale coming up. Oh, well, if you can see that. That one's been cut off. That one's still growing. So here's more watermelon. Petunias that should be dying off, but they're still going. This little watermelon's not getting very big. I don't think it's gonna get very big. This, oddly enough, is the one that I've had aphid problems on. And you can see the ants. And if I move this too much, the ants go nuts. You can kind of see the shadow of the aphids on the leaves through the sun. But it is growing like wild. It is putting on melons. So I think I'm going to try. I've sprayed it off a couple times already with water and gotten a lot of the aphids off, but obviously not all of them. So I think I'm going to try some essential oils or something on that. Carrots never came up. That is what's left of my bush beans, my lima beans. That is a midnight nasturtium, so it should be these really dark red blooms. I'm so excited. More tomato plants, lots of flowers, not a lot of tomatoes yet. But like I said, it's hot and they don't produce well in the high heat, so it may be nurse them through, see how they go, or pull them up and start over. I haven't decided yet. Another watermelon. This one, yeah, this was my very first watermelon I saw a couple days ago. So it's my first little watermelon baby. I do have, yeah, planted Swiss chard here. They're gone. Those are turnips, so they're doing okay. And some yellow straight neck squash. I got one there. My other watermelon. And these are all tomatoes. I did have to cut off. I cut off the one. I had like 4 tomatoes on here, and they all got blossom end. I've read it's a calcium issue, and I don't know how to fix that at this point. So I gotta do some more research on that. This is some garlic I planted just on a whim. Maybe about a month ago. I know it's late for garlic. It may not produce any bulbs, but yeah, like I said, this whole thing is an experiment. Like this tomato plant's not looking too happy either. But this is my first year gardening, and I do have the ultimate goal of, in a few years when my big kids are all graduated, that I am going to move out of the valley and I want to homestead like proper. So I figure starting this way with a small victory garden and homesteading in my own backyard or my own property is a good way to start and have the safety net of, you know, there's grocery stores and plumbing and things, you know, conveniences, electricity and all that good stuff before I get out of town. I have a couple friends and we're all single moms, and currently we're all just thinking, you know, we just kind of want to get out in the next couple years. So we're looking at large pieces of property, northern Arizona, that we can, you know, split between us and each have our own little homestead, but then have the closeness of friends and people that we know to kind of build our own little community, I guess. I don't know. It's in the very baby planning stages. None of us are ready to move at this point. We all have kids in school, and you know, it costs a lot of money to do something like that. So we have to take this step by step. But it's a process and it's a goal, and you know, who knows where things will be in 5 or 6 years, but that is the goal. So I have a couple more things that I could show you guys, but that's the garden proper. I do have plans to expand it this fall. I would like to end up getting growing almost all of my produce to start with for the year. Like I said, right now I can grow year round There are things that if I had started earlier, we would be eating right now, but I'm coming into the fall growing season. So there is a lot, because we don't get a hard freeze, just enough that, you know, things like spinaches and stuff really like the freeze, like the cold. I think the growing days, like the growing days here are 310 growing days out of the year, and the 50 days that aren't are like midsummer. So yeah, I've got big plans to get the bulk of my food from my yard in the very near future. Don't know about growing like big things like grains and stuff, but at least the produce part taken care of, so I don't have to rely on, you know, grocery stores. And it's fun to be sustainable and garden like my grandma did. She had a victory garden. She was a young woman in the 40s and had a victory garden and always gardened. I remember her always gardening, so it was more hobby by the time, you know, I remember things, but I'm definitely got the idea that this is, you know, sustainable and long-term and provide for my family. So yeah, I am going to expand it in the fall and add at least one more row onto the garden, so that'll give me another 4 beds, and I might extend it out that way, giving me another 3 more beds, 3 more whole beds that way. But I haven't quite decided yet, which currently there are 5 of us living in this house, me and 4 children. So I have 1 adult child. He just graduated high school. My other 2 bigger kids are high school, junior high school, and then I have a 4-year-old. So yeah, we eat a lot. I have people who eat a lot in my house. Even my 4-year-old eats a lot. So to be sustainable, the intense process of square foot gardening is definitely something that works for that, and vertical growing and succession planting and planting year round and all those things. So by the time I move up to the homestead, I should only have 1 going with me, maybe 2, depends on what, you know, the younger 2 want to do, but definitely will have 1 going with me. But like I said, it's a process, and that's the whole point of doing these videos, is just to share the journey and growing in my desert environment. I don't see a lot of videos of people growing in the desert. The beautiful homestead videos I love to watch are all like Zone 6 and Zone 7, which is where I will be moving to, but right now I'm in Zone 9B and it is really hot. So these are my chickies. You can see them. They're starting to spiderwebs. They're starting to roost for the evening. I was going to focus on them. It's too busy focusing on the spiderwebs. We have 9 hens and 1 rooster, 1 mean rooster, but he takes good care of the girls, so he gets to stay for now. Here is my fig tree. I planted this fig tree last year, and I've gotten 2 figs that I've been able to eat off of it so far, but it looks like I might get a few more. It dropped a lot of fruit, unripe fruit, but I've got a few more coming on that I might get to eat, which is fine. It's its first year producing, so I'm not too upset about that. I did plant a grapevine. I thought it had died, but it came back, so we'll see how far it gets this summer, and then you know, go from there. Like I said, this is one of those things that's a long-term planting. It'll be probably a couple years, or at least a year, before I get anything off of that one. I'm gonna walk. This is my backyard, my patio. It's a mess. Up until about a month ago, you could not walk across the patio, so it's looking a lot better. Cleaned up a lot. Still got a lot more to go. I'm gonna clean out my shed. That's a whole other process, but those kinds of things need to wait until fall. So here is my pomegranate tree. This was here when my parents bought the house. It's been tried to, long story, but has tried to bin a couple times and it just keeps coming back, and I'm so glad it does because I love pomegranates. But yeah, I trimmed it way, way, way back, and then it set on a bunch of fruit. So like by the time things are ripe in November, this might be touching the ground because it was standing up tall like the rest of it. And the last little thing I've got back here amongst all the pomegranates is a Goji Berry, otherwise known as a wolfberry. Planted that this year and then didn't cage it. I have it caged. And the chickens got to it and ate good 75% of it. So definitely not going to get any berries off of it this year, but it has made a comeback. So, and that is it for the garden tour for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. My phone just told me that it's too hot because I think it is still 107 degrees outside right now. It's shady back here, so it doesn't feel like it, but it's hot and my phone is telling me. So I'm going to go inside, drink some water, get some dinner, and I hope you guys have a wonderful time wherever you are at, and I will see you next time.